Oliver North's former secretary was addicted to crack.
I'm a grateful addict because I lived, because I would not. Someone said, would you like to do this again for all that you learned? No way.
If you watched Inside Edition on Monday, you saw the first interview with Fawn Hall in 7 years. Ms. Hall was, of course, Oliver North's secretary, and she took a lot of heat for her role in the Iran-Contra affair. But we were surprised to hear her say that she thinks North betrayed her. Today, more surprises. Fawn talks about her addiction to crack cocaine, a problem that almost took her life. Nanette Barusha reports.
I'm a grateful addict because I lived, because I would not. Somebody said, would you like to do this again for all that you learned? No way. No way.
On April 16, 1993, Fawn Hall married best-selling author Danny Sugarman in a storybook wedding at the posh Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles. And like most newlyweds, they were looking forward to a romantic honeymoon. Surprisingly, Danny was able to hide his drug use from Fawn until they came home. Danny had switched from scoring pure heroin in Bangkok to buying crack on the streets of L.A. When Fawn found out, she had a shocking reaction.
I don't know why, but I said, let me try it, you know?
At Fawn's insistence, Danny reluctantly gave his wife her first hit of crack. From that moment on, she was hooked, and her first year of marriage became the worst year of her life.
Did you ever ask yourself, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't let her try it because this is addictive?
In retrospect, of course I wish I hadn't taken her. Of course I said, no way, I'm killing myself. No way I'm going to let you kill yourself, too. I wish I said that.
Do you feel any guilt at this point?
Yeah. I do.
I just wanted to die, you know, and it was a slow death, you know, and once I started and I couldn't stop, I just wished, you know, God would take me, just like end it all, because I couldn't stop it. I couldn't control it anymore.
Her need to get high became so overwhelming that Fawn would slip out of the house at all hours, risking her life for a quick hit.
People are on the street corners and all you have to do is say, and they walk over to you and you drop them a few bills and they drop you a few rocks and off you go.
The wholesome young woman who just a few years before had given sworn testimony before Congress had become a regular customer in the seediest and most dangerous neighborhoods of Los Angeles. Luckily, she was never harmed, but her addiction began to consume her life.
And then I would think about like going through Iran-Contra and like being able to testify before Congress, and now I couldn't walk up to the front door and answer for the postman, you know?
One morning, after Fawn had been up for 3 days straight smoking crack, her parents paid her a surprise visit. They knew that their daughter was in trouble, and they wanted to intervene.
I locked myself in the bedroom, and I refused to come out. And I was just wailing. I was just crying and wailing, and just like I was in a state of shock. They're crying, and I was crying, and I still couldn't come out of the door. You know, I still couldn't come out of that bedroom because I did want them to see me. They never left me. They always supported me, even though it was very painful.
It was Salvation showed up at our front door and said, you have to do something. Not tomorrow, not next week. By 6 p.m. tonight, you two have to be someplace that can help you.
They checked into rehab, but it simply didn't work. Within weeks, they were both back at it again. Then one horrible night, Fawn overdosed, and she nearly lost her life.
I just say, you know, Jesus, please, please, you know, God, help me so I don't hurt anybody else. I don't care, you know, just don't let me die one, you know. Just stop the pain, please, please, please.
Danny was eventually able to break his addiction on his own. But after Fawn OD'd in July of 1994, she was placed in the Hazelden Clinic in Minnesota. She entered a 30-day recovery program and then committed herself to a halfway house in Florida. She got a job at a bookstore.
There have been a lot of allegations thrown around that the Contra resupply operation was involved in cocaine trafficking. We found absolutely no evidence during my tenure at the NSC that any of the resistance leaders were themselves or their subordinates involved in drug running.
Although there was enough evidence to warrant investigation into CIA drug trafficking, there was no serious interest on the part of committee members, and no first-hand witnesses were called. At one point, the hearings were disrupted by two observers who burst out in protest. For these actions, the protesters were handed down stiff jail sentences of over a year each.
They never got into drugs, even though it kept coming up in their face. They had got declassified a lot of memos from Robert Owen in which he was telling Oliver North that there were Contra leaders who were involved in the drug traffic. The only questions they allowed him this was to sort of smooth it over or to blame it on somebody else.
The news program over the weekend suggested that Rob Owen, who testified earlier, was involved in drug smuggling. Now, is there any truth to that? Can you shed any light for us on that subject? Absolutely false. Mr. Owen is the last person, perhaps right beside me, that would ever be engaged in those kinds of activities.